I've seen a lot of people rush out and grab the cheapest starter saxophone they can find, only to discover a month later that the instrument is out of tune, leaks in the worst places, and makes every gig feel like a battle. It's a painful reminder that saving a few bucks up front can end up costing you more in time, frustration, and even a missed opportunity on stage. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So the question I keep hearing is, does stepping up to a Yamaha YAS 62III in that eye-catching amber lacquer feel like a smarter buy, or am I just swapping one set of compromises for another? First off, the YAS 62III sits squarely in the professional tier of alto saxophones. That means it's built for players who are already comfortable with the basics of tone production, finger coordination, and regular practice. If you're still figuring out how to keep a steady tone without choking, a student-grade instrument with a more forgiving key layout might actually serve you better. But for anyone who's been playing consistently for a few years, or who is heading into a college band, jazz combo, or even a semi-professional gig circuit, the YAS 62III starts to make a lot of sense. What sets this model apart from the lower-priced alternatives isn't just the glossy finish, it's the engineering behind the key action. Yamaha's integrated key posts run straight through the body, which eliminates the little bits of metal that can wobble or become misaligned over time. In my own rehearsals with a local jazz trio, I noticed that after a full night of playing, the response on the low B was still crisp, whereas a friend with a cheaper sax was fighting a sticky key and had to pause the set to adjust. That reliability is a huge practical strength because it means you spend less time fiddling with mechanics and more time focusing on the music. Another feature that often goes unnoticed until you actually use the instrument is the professional neck receiver. The YAS 62III comes with a 62-style neck, which is a classic design that many seasoned players swear by for its balanced resistance and tonal depth. When you pair it with a good mouthpiece, something like a Van Doren Optimo or a Meyer, those low register notes open up with a richness that can fill a small club without the player having to overblow. I tried it in a live jam session last month, and the sax sang through a 4-track PA system without sounding thin, something I've struggled with on my older intermediate instrument. Now, no instrument is perfect, and the YAS 62III has a few trade-offs that are worth flagging before you click Add to Cart. First, the price tag is steep. This isn't a budget upgrade, it's an investment you'd typically see a serious student or professional making. If you're on a tight budget, you might end up stretching your finances thin just to get the instrument, and that could limit your ability to afford a high-quality mouthpiece or proper maintenance tools. Second, the weight is noticeably higher than many student models. The extra brass and the sturdy amber lacquer case add up, so if you're traveling a lot, say, hopping from city to city for gigs, you'll feel that extra load in your case. A lighter gig bag can help, but the instrument itself won't get any lighter. A practical weakness that some players mention is the neck angle. The 62 style neck has a slightly different sweep compared to the newer 63 style or custom-cut necks. If you've spent years on a different neck geometry, there's a short adjustment period where your embouchure and hand positioning need a little recalibration. I spent a couple of evenings just playing long tones and scales to get the feel right. For most, it's a minor hurdle, but it's something to keep in mind if you're used to a particular neck shape. So who should actually buy the YAS 62III? If you're a high school senior aiming for a music conservatory, a college student who's already performing in ensembles, or a semi-professional musician who can't afford a broken note during a gig, this saxophone aligns with those needs. The instrument's stable intonation and consistent key response make rehearsals more productive, and the tonal character shines in both jazz improvisation and classical repertoire. It also makes a solid first professional sax for someone who wants to avoid having to upgrade again in the next few years. On the flip side, if you're just picking up the sax for the first time, you'll probably benefit more from a student-grade model that's lighter, easier on the wallet, and forgiving on the mechanics. Likewise, hobbyists who only play once a week for fun, or musicians who primarily record and never perform live, might find the extra durability and tonal nuance of the YAS 62III more than they actually need. In those cases, you could allocate the budget toward